Hi, I'm Desirae.
And I'm Myriah,
We're two sisters with a love of storytelling
and the paranormal, and you're listening to As
as the
the Crow
crow
Flies.
flies.
Welcome. That's not how this is starting. You put me on the spot, and now I cannot word.
And now I'm weird.
Now my weird is hanging out. Welcome back. Hopefully, now that you know more about us, you've decided to return.
Fingers crossed.
We haven't scared anyone away yet, or we've scared them to us. This week, we wanted to do a little something different, still on brand with who we are, funky, spooky, but we decided to do little mini topics of our own. So, not diving as deep into subjects like we have in previous episodes, where the full episode is dedicated to that single topic and we get like really into the details, which love. But it's fun to just kind of skim the surface sometimes, and yeah, just kind of like browsing through the library, seeing what's out there and getting a little tidbit from the back of the book and moving on to the next.
Yeah, so I feel like some things are maybe not as lengthy as others, like you said, like other episodes we've done, but they're still fun and interesting and worth talking about. And so we decided to call these episodes our odds and ends. So just things that we find interesting and worthy of sharing with you, even though they might not take an entire episode, or they will be an entire episode, but not as deep of a dive in as we've done it with our other topics.
Yes. So we hope you enjoy. I'm looking forward to doing some more of these and just sharing what I found, and Desiree not having any idea what I'm doing, and me not having any idea what she's doing, and, until we get together and share it with you all. So before we get into our topics, we wanted to share a little bit about what we did last weekend. Last weekend? Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
It feels so far away, but just like yesterday, also, we went to a psychic and holistic fair that was hosted by a local small business called the Witch's Brew.
Yes.
I forget her
And
name.
so our friend Amy owns the shop, The Witch's Brew, and she holds this really cool psychic and holistic fair where there's just a ton of cool people who come together and they share their kind of going along with their theme from our last episode. They share their true, authentic, weird selves. And there's so much cool stuff there, things that people create. And the other really cool aspect of the psychic and holistic fair is people also share their gifts. And well, first, one shop had us pick these cards, and they were sort of like fortune cards. Is that how you would describe them, maybe, Mariah?
Yeah, I don't know what the like official term is. Like, I know there's tarot cards, oracle cards, and so yeah, but they were just words, quips, with affirmations, or like Desiree said, fortunes of a sort, which was really cool.
Yeah. And it was so bizarre because I think I picked my card first. Then my daughter Audrey picked her card. And then a few minutes later, after we figured out the payments and everything, because it wasn't working great, she had like already shuffled the cards, took them back out. So when Mariah went to pull her card, she realized that she and Audrey got the same exact card. And so, whatever that means, it was just kind of interesting. And then the woman shared with us how she and her niece are or her niece and her sister, but something along those lines of a niece and aunt relationship,
Mm-hmm.
how they were so similar. And she kind of applauded us on allowing Audrey to explore this sort of realm, and for us to just be open and accepting and like encouraging of Audrey enjoying things that you would find at a psychic and holistic fair. So
Hmm.
that was really cool.
Yes, it was just a little kind of moment to share with Audrey, and it was really, really fun to see her kind of light up and be interested in quite a few of the things that we are interested in ourselves. And she also wasn't the only kid there, which I also thought was neat. That I don't know if it's just because of the community that we have put ourselves into or are a part of, that's just kind of something natural or normal. I feel like is kind of fostering that curiosity and encouraging your kids to explore whatever they're interested in, even if it's kind of off the beaten path and quote unquote weird or.
Yeah. We fully embrace weird around here.
Yes, if you couldn't tell already.
Yeah. And the really cool thing is Audrey has discovered that she can just go, "Hey Alexa, play As the Crow Flies on Amazon Music," and she'll just be listening to our podcast. And I do have to stop her from listening to it to go to bed sometimes, 'cause I'm like, you're gonna get scared. But
Oh no. Yeah, not the day I love pass.
yeah, no, not that one. But I just think it's so sweet that she is like genuinely excited about what we do and interested in all of these different things. I just think it's really cool that as a 6-year-old she gets to explore these interests.
I forget she's sick sometimes too.
So, as we continued throughout the fair, we signed up for a tarot card reading with Tasha's Intuitive Sight. Tasha is a local spiritual healer. She does Reiki, she does tarot, she does ancient healing techniques and modalities, just a lot of really cool things. And so we just kind of went in there, and it was the three of us together. And she's like, "Okay, how do you guys want to do this?" And we're like, "Well, just, whatever feels right." Um, and it was just so cool. There was so many things that she hit on that, Myriah and I have talked about, but never like put out there. She had a lot of positive outlooks on what our podcast could be. And it was so cool. Like, she was covered in goosebumps. Like, you could
Yes.
just see them. And so just to be in her presence in that moment just felt really magical.
Hmm. And I thought it was like so neat. At one point, well, when she started, she had like a pretty large crystal on her lap, that I believe she was using to kind of like help ground herself. And Audrey was asking about it, and Tasha asked Audrey if she wanted to hold the crystal. And as she continued her reading, and Audrey is holding this like crystal that looked like just comically large in her lap,
Yeah.
um, she started to feel different. And like, even if that was just kind of like the sense of like being a part of something that she was like really like psyched out about, and like in a good way, and was just like
She got like,
enjoying.
yeah, she was like getting giddy. I
Yeah.
remember.
Oh
And
my god, it was so cute.
she said something like, "I feel," what did she say? "I feel something," like
Oh,
with
I
the
wish.
crystal. But
Yeah, I wish I remembered. I don't think it was goosebumps, but yeah, she seemed like she had that sense of like something all over. Even I can't describe it, like tinglies.
like a wom, like Ash and Elena would
Yeah.
say, a
Yep.
wom.
That's gonna be the best way I could describe it.
Yeah. One of the really cool things Tasha mentioned with one of the cards she pulled, she goes, "I feel like," she's like, "I'm getting the sense that you guys are going to like go places." There's something about traveling was one of the cards. And she's like, "I feel like you guys are going to like go to these places and talk about these places while you're in there." And that was so crazy to me that she mentioned that, because that is something I have been thinking about. And I wanted to start with a very specific local place. And I had not even mentioned that to Myriah yet. And so the fact that Tasha alluded to that, kind of being in our cards, if you will, I
Yeah.
was just like, what? Like, I haven't even mentioned that to anybody.
I'm sure there's plenty of people that can be like, oh, like it hits on general topics. And so then you kind of like self apply that and the like, the pseudo whatever of it all. But it did really feel like so much aligned with, like you said, things we don't discuss outside of this, me
Yeah.
and you, and kind of feelings towards things and towards the way that we've grown up and expressed ourselves, like other family members' feelings towards that or anything like that. Just so much of it felt like it hit the nail on the head
Yeah.
over and over and over again. And another thing I thought was funny, like, I guess she keeps her feet on the ground as
Yeah.
another way of like grounding herself and just kind of like staying centered. And she like kept moving around in her chair and like wiggling her legs and crossing her feet and trying to sit up on her leg, which is something I'm if you've seen any of our recordings, that's something I do a lot.
Yeah.
I I'm just everywhere.
Yeah.
Um, and she's like, "This has not happened all day, guys. I'm so sorry." And like it happened a few more times, and then she goes, "If you I don't even know if she like looked and noticed. Like I had my legs crossed up under me and kind of like
I
tucked
did
under the
too.
chair. And I don't know if she noticed that and that's why she mentioned, or she was just kind of like, I'm doing this. So maybe like subconsciously we all need this like message. She's like, so if you guys throughout the rest of the reading, like try to keep your feet on the floor flat
Yeah.
and just kind of keep that like connection. I just thought it was super funny because me all over.
Well, we've always, so our dad, he will drive with his left leg like tucked under him, and I will drive like that. And Myriah will drive like, I mean, probably really dangerous, but we still got our right foot down for gas
We've
and
taken
brake. But
quite a few cross country drives though, and I mean like when you're on those, oh my god, going through Tennessee, when you're going from like corner to corner on those long stretches of highway, like sometimes you
yeah,
need to mix it up a little.
yep,
Live
yeah.
on the
So
dangerous side. Tuck your foot up.
yeah. So it was just funny to like, it's like she was definitely feeling our energy, and it was just cool because that's something that we do a lot. And so who knows if
Mhm.
that's why she was doing it, or what was influencing that. But
Yeah.
it was definitely a great experience. So definitely, if anyone local to us is listening, if you have an opportunity to schedule a reading with Tasha's intuitive sight, or if you find yourself in the downtown Newport area, check out the Witch's Brew. We're hoping to get a talking table at the next Psychic and Holistic Fair. Amy was kind enough to display our poster and put out our stickers, and we hope to be there in the flesh at the next Psychic and Holistic Fair and hopefully snag another reading from Tasha.
Yes, for real. And like even before I knew that you had reached out to Amy and were wanting to kind of like just put ourselves out there and get into the like self-marketing of it all, I was like really looking forward to just going
Yeah,
to the event like on my own. And so being able to interact with all of the vendors and see all of the like super cool stuff that every one of them had, like such unique
yeah,
um creations, and you could just like pick up everybody's kind of like vibe and style from things that they're creating. But it was just really neat, and I had seen them at a different event last year, and so it was fun to kind of see how they're evolving and introduce ourselves now not only as like customers of theirs but hopefully going forward like peers of theirs, being able to be in
yeah.
that same space and appreciate each other's work and continue to be a part of that community.
I'm very much looking forward to continuing that as well. So, getting into our topics today, I wanted to start just by mentioning this was kind of like the first thing when we were talking about just doing like these little mini-sodes. Obviously, Bigfoot would be an entire episode, if not more. But right now, I don't know if anyone is like finding this in their For You pages or their algorithms, but there is some weird shit happening in Ohio right now. There have been the most reported Bigfoot sightings since like the 70s in a short time frame right now in Ohio. So like one lady, she was looking out of one of her windows. I like maybe she was sitting there doing the dishes and
Hmm.
she saw just a Bigfoot just chilling, going through her woods. Normally, I guess one of the usually when, and I don't know if this is like an actual correlation or not, but this is just what I was hearing. I've heard it in a couple videos now. When Bigfoot sightings go up, I guess UFO sightings have gone up. And what just like exploded over Ohio? Do you have you seen that?
No.
A freaking meteorite.
What?
A meteorite. Yeah, there's like
This week?
videos. Yeah, it was just yeah, this week.
What the heck?
So like people have videos from all across, I think it's like northern Ohio, this
Uh-huh.
meteor coming, and it hit our Earth's atmosphere traveling, and it was like something like 400,000 miles per hour, and it created a sonic boom because it did not break up in our outer atmosphere like
Hmm.
most do. And so the doorbell cameras and things like that that captured it like literally rattle when this thing explodes. And then they found the first confirmed piece of the meteorite. I want to say it was today on March 20th they found it. So just like Ohio, I don't know
Crazy.
what's going on. You guys have some crazy stuff happening.
Right. I'm like sitting here thinking, okay, I need to catch up on Ladies and Tangents because they're in Ohio. And so, like, if they've
Oh,
got some news about it, I'm sure we'll hear something or I'll hear something. Um,
I almost wore my Ladies and Tangent shirt tonight.
Next time we'll have to coordinate.
Yeah.
Just a tidbit off of that, because I was looking things up like while you were talking.
Mhm.
Apparently, cryptid fans, fanatics, researchers call an uptick of sightings a flap. So there's a big Bigfoot flap right now.
Oh my gosh, I love that. There's
Yeah, a
a
sudden cluster of sightings in a short time frame. A flap.
flap. All right. Well,
So,
so moving on from Ohio, I know we're repeating each other today. It's a thing. You'll notice it maybe. We usually just say, get out.
or fuck off.
Yeah, that too. My husband says he can't stand to be around us because we do it so much. He just isn't cool enough to sit with us. Moving away from Ohio up here, one of the things that I wanted to talk about today is I don't know if you'd call it a phenomena or an architectural oddity that is specific to New England, and I believe most heavily concentrated in Vermont. So, those of you who know us, or if you've listened enough, maybe now you've caught on. Myriah and I live in Vermont. And if you're one of those people who says, "Where's Vermont?" It is a it's
What
a
state is
small.
Vermont in?
Yeah, yeah. So being growing up in Texas, we heard that all the time because we'd say we go to Vermont for the summer, and they're like, "What part of Texas is that in?" And I'm like, it's not, but
Yeah.
okay."
Farthest you can get without leaving California.
Yeah, so we're like practically in Canada up here. And because kind of one of the things I thought would be cool to kick off these odds and ends episode is with a little Vermont tidbit. Vermont, even though it wasn't one of the original 13 colonies, it was the 14th. Um, and so the first European separatists landed at Cape Cod in 1607, creating the first settlement known as Plymouth. As more Europeans crossed the Atlantic in search of freedom from Great Britain's control, new colonies popped up along what is now the eastern coast of the United States and branched also into the southern part of the country. But from 1777 to 1791, what is now Vermont was known as the Vermont Republic. On March 4th, 1791, the Vermont Republic officially became the 14th state in the United States of America. And so I mentioned this just to talk about the history, right? And so, I mean, we're not naive. We understand people were here before um, the colonists settled in this area. But European civilizations started to move in the 1600s. And then this area was developed by these settlers, over hundreds of years. And so Vermont and a lot of New England has some really rich history. We've got some really cool historical buildings. So in the Northeast, we've got the Paul Revere House in Boston, Massachusetts. We've got the Lizzie Borden House in Fall River, Massachusetts, the Mark Twain House in Connecticut. Tons of really cool one-room schoolhouses, such as the Stone Village Schoolhouse in Chester, Vermont. And Vermont also has the highest number of original covered bridges left standing. So, for example, the Great Eddy Bridge in Vermont. And so, just tons of really rich history and a lot of really cool historical architecture is still standing in our area. And so, if you're to pay attention to some of these older buildings, you might notice something a little weird. And that is one window that follows the roof line of these older homes. And so, Vermont architectural historian Devin Coleman explains it as the crooked window tucked up under the eaves and gable in the gable end, and it's just tucked in there at a crazy angle. And so, if you're just driving around and you don't know the history, you're just like, that's weird. Like, why would you put a window there like that? And so we were always told that they are called witches' windows. And so they are thought to be a barrier to preventing witches and just evil entities from entering your house. And the thought of it is kind of that if a witch is flying on a broomstick, she's sort of at like a angle like this. And so to have a window like this, she'd hit your roof and not be able to come into your house.
I mean, you see them run into trees all the time. Their little legs splat out.
Yeah. And so just picturing that in my head of like people thinking like, oh, she's gonna hit her head on the roof. She'll never get in this house.
Yeah, they're never gonna figure it out.
Yeah.
So high tech. Also,
It's
it just reminds me of, or I mean, just in my weird little head, have you seen the like super high speed, like motocross or like Kawasaki motorcycle riders where they're like leaned over and their
yes.
knees like scraping?
Uh-huh.
They just need like an upgraded broom so they can and
They need a Nimbus 2000. Duh. Get with it, witches.
but I mean that was a while after the 1700s.
Well, so the other sort of like legend behind these windows is if you didn't know them as a witch's window, you might know them as a coffin window. And the thought behind coffin windows is that if because a lot of these New England homes have like really low ceilings, really like narrow turning staircases.
Oh my god.
And yeah, we have a split queen box spring because we couldn't get it through any of our staircases. We had to buy a special one.
Just take the roof off.
Yeah, seriously. I have taken a window apart to get a bed in before. And so this to me doesn't really make sense. But if you were to need to bring a coffin into the second floor to put a body in it, the easiest way to get it out of the second floor when it's full with a person would be to lower it through these coffin windows along the roof underneath it.
Yep.
Um,
When I started to think about that though, and like even as you say it now, so I mean, if you're getting one in a coffin in a house, yeah, up these staircases and stuff, you can pivot and like stand it upright and stuff. But once you get a body
body
in
in
there, you're
it.
not gonna want to flop that
Yeah.
thing around. And so it kind of makes sense why, but when you see like the size of the windows and stuff, like maybe they just didn't have as bougie coffins as we
Right,
do now.
right.
They
Hmm.
were just really more like pine boxes, and instead of like padded and more like comfortable and respectful feeling, I guess. Um,
Yeah.
maybe they were small enough to fit through there, but I don't know.
The other thing I read though said, why wouldn't you just load the coffin on the first floor? Maybe they don't want to
Depends
touch
on
it.
the
Then
state
maybe
of
they
the
don't want
body.
to touch.
That also.
Yes, true. That is true. Maybe if they, I'll give it to them. Then maybe they are coffin windows. If the person passed away upstairs, they had to bring the coffin upstairs, put the body in it, and then
Porque no
lower it out the window.
dos.
Yeah, porque no los
Just
dos.
no coffins. Yes.
So I think the reality of these really cool architectural oddity windows are that I think it has to do with the angle that the sun hits this area.
Hmm.
Um, the windows are specifically angled at like 45 degrees. And so, because of the angle of the windows, it allows for more sunlight and good airflow into the second stories. However, I still like to think of them as witches' windows.
Hmm.
I think they're so whimsical and quirky, and just really cool. And like whenever we're driving and I see a house with a witch's window, I just like kind of point it
Ooh.
out. Yeah, I'm like, oh look, there's a witch's window. No
Yeah.
witches are getting in there.
It's like when you would drive by a horse or a cow. Everyone in the car is going to know because, oh, cow. That's all I wanted to tell you.
Yeah, just a cow. Just everyone see the cow. Yep. All right.
They're very rare around here.
On national parks after dark, they think moose aren't real. It's a
What?
it's a thing. It's a joke that they say they've never actually seen a moose in real life. They've just heard of them, so they're convinced that moose aren't
That's
real.
funny.
One of the kind of cool memories I have of witches' windows is so we our life in Vermont has been in a very small town in Vermont and kind of an old town. So like for example, the year we moved to Vermont, the elementary school that Myriah and I attended celebrated its 100th year of existence since it was built. It was built in 1907, so that was back in 2007. Uh, so we live in a really old, cool town, and one of the people that we went to school with, he lived right on the edge of town as you're leaving town, up on a hill, and it had like this really steep gravel driveway. The house was a big farm style house with like a really big covered porch wrapped around it. It had like older chipping paint, just like a really Vermont looking house.
Hmm.
And it was rumored, kind of like a well-known rumor, that they believed their house was haunted. They had some really cool experiences with things moving, with like specifically the cabinets would open and close. Um,
That's always a fun
and
one.
yeah, and I guess they would like even see apparitions. And their house has a really distinctive witch's window. So it's just kind of cool. Like I will think of their house too when I think of witches' windows.
Hmm.
So, whether you believe that they exist to keep witches out, whether you believe that they exist to lower coffins from the second story of homes, or whether you think they're just for good ventilation and sunlight. If you find yourself in New England, look around for witches' windows. I'm excited to hear what you have for us, Myriah.
Yes. So I did cheat a little bit in that I had not picked my topic until after I saw what you were talking about, just because my nature is that of the procrastinator, always and forever. I wanted to talk about feng shui. And I'm sure that sounds very freaking strange. Why would witch windows pull you into the world of feng shui? Like, what do witch windows have to do with interior design? Um, and actually, as we got further into this, or I got further into this, um, I found out that they have surprisingly quite a bit more in common than I ever would have expected.
Oh, okay. I'm interested.
Although I'm sure, like myself included, before I started looking into this, most ideas or like modern references to feng shui kind of, I feel, diminish it to like a pseudoscience revolving around like arranging furniture, moving around decor in your home to make the space feel more prosperous or whatever whatever the case is, just trying to get the vibes right on a spiritual level. It actually goes a lot deeper than that. So feng shui encompasses down to like astronomical, astrological, architectural, cosmological, geographical, and topographical dimensions in very like deep ways. It was such a revered practice that it even influenced like structural design and city planning in like the Chinese cities that it kind of got its start in. So like capital cities, homes, and even tombs were respected enough and held in such high regard that feng shui was an essential aspect of designing these places and honoring them down from like, the blueprint, if you will, to like the actual building and realization of those places. Um, as early as 4000 BC, we have found evidence of feng shui's influence on daily life. So in places like archaeological sites, one specifically in Banpo and at a grave in a city of Puyang, there are just artifacts and carvings, the way like doors are facing specifically in relation to star alignments and things can be traced back to feng shui, which was just, I thought, really neat.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I guess so I always just kind of thought of feng shui as, I don't know how to explain it, but just sort of like something that just kind of came up and it was like, oh, it's like the energy's off, man, kind of thing.
Yeah,
Like,
like you find it in like a 90s 2000 Cosmo magazine of like,
yeah,
try this new hip trendy thing that we just came up with.
right. And so I thought of it as like what's the thing where like you don't ever want the foot of your bed facing the door, or you don't ever want a mirror at the,
Mirrors
basically
facing
you want
each
to
other.
avoid, yeah, you want to avoid like portals of sorts.
Hmm.
That's what my interpretation of feng shui always was.
And it kind of is that in a sense, but it goes a lot deeper than vibes, or there is a lot more that goes into it. It takes like years of study and practice and interpreting different formulas and star alignments to get like a proper reading, legitimate reading. And it is very heavily based in what I found to be like a lot of currently still like scientific and mathematical practices. That doesn't sound like the right word, methods. So yeah, there's a little more to that in a moment, but I wanted to pause for a second and get into where feng shui started, I guess. So the term feng shui translates literally to wind, water, but more symbolically, it can be transferred. It can be translated to fluid. So just kind of like that sense of moving through a space. It is a practice of Chinese geomancy or earth divination based on the concept of wuxing. While it's not an exact equivalent to what European countries kind of know as alchemy, it can be kind of loosely compared to the practice of alchemy. Um, to quote a site that I came across called gothborg.com, in ancient Chinese cosmology, the five basic phases or elements that explain change in the cosmos are earth, wood, metal, fire, and water. These elements were believed to overcome and succeed one another in an immutable cycle and were correlated with the five cardinal directions, seasons, colors, flavors, planets, tones, etc.
5 cardinal directions.
Yes. And I read that and had the same thought, but did not look further into what that means. Is it like north, south,
Interesting.
west, up? But then I don't know.
So it says the four main cardinal directions are northeast, north, east, south, and west, which represent the primary points on a compass. That's what I'm familiar with. In
Obviously.
some contexts, oh, okay, here it's all coming together. In some contexts, particularly in Chinese philosophy, referencing the Wu Xing five elements, a fifth cardinal direction is included, which is center. So you weren't totally off with the up thing.
So the practice of feng shui is known to have utilized several mathematical, navigational, and astrological instruments that are still used today. One of those being the gnomon, which is so if you know what a sundial looks like, it's the vertical triangular part. Um,
Interesting.
yeah, I like as I found more of these instruments, I was just like, oh,
I know what
oh,
that is. Yeah, I would never put them all together, but I know what they are individually.
yeah. Another was uh, called a Luren astrolabe, also called a Shi. And if you are a fan of Philip Pullman's books, specifically the first book in the series, The Golden Compass, if you picture the alethiometer that Lyra uses throughout the books, that is essentially like what an astrolabe looks like. So if you haven't read that book or seen that movie, sorry about it. Google an astrolabe. And then most notably, it utilizes a magnetic compass. And I actually found out that magnetic compasses were invented by the Han Dynasty around 206 BC, specifically for divination practices. So before, we were just using it out in the woods to figure out how to get down the trail. They had a lot more ideas in store. This earliest version was called a luopan, which points to the south
Oh,
magnetic pole,
interesting.
and it includes a number of circular dials, a red wire or a thread to kind of like align once you've got all your dials in place, see kind of where everything's in line, and then just so many inscribed formulas all across the dials to analyze basically like the cosmic energy or the chi, your surroundings, your space.
Really cool.
Yeah, I like the more I learned about it and saw kind of how involved and like intertwined all of these things were, and it's more than just like a okay checkbox here you're good and you're going to be fortuitous. Like there's a lot more that goes into it. And lastly, I wanted to end on this idea that traditionally feng shui is recognized as a form of ancestral worship, which I thought was just a really interesting idea to kind of end my findings on, because as I was going through all of this and learning, all of the instruments, all of the different utilizations, and the deep like reverence that they still have for this practice, I was getting like vibes of Norse mythology, kind of picking up some aspects of different witchcraft practices that I've learned about and come across, from my Western view of the world.
Yeah.
And so it all just kind of like felt like it was meshing together and so very much alike and synchronous, more than I ever thought it would be, which was like really cool, but like kind of bittersweet to think about, because learning about different cultures, you also come across a lot of just like shitty comments and shitty worldviews, and so
Wow.
seeing how similar so many of our practices are in
Right.
so many different corners of the world was just like a very heavy in a good way, like feel
Yes.
kind of whole.
Almost like reassuring is
Yeah,
the thing that comes to mind for me of like,
and hopeful, I guess.
yeah, like we're not all so different.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a
And
little
and
crazy,
so
some of us, but
yeah. And so that's a really cool tie-in. Thinking about like now it makes me wonder if like I wonder if there's any more to witches windows and like the angle that they're put at. Like we kind of alluded to that earlier
Mhm.
with like the sunlight and things like that. But also, what's interesting is kind of I mentioned that the witches' windows are angled at 45 degrees, and there is the 45th longitude, the 45th longitude parallel line
Mm-hmm.
runs through part of northern Vermont and into Canada. As you're talking about like how in depth feng shui is, it just kind of makes me think like, what more is there to witches' windows and being at 45 degrees and what the 45th longitude line running
Mm-hmm.
through parts of Vermont and them being prevalent in Vermont. Anyways,
Oh
just
yeah.
has me curious.
No, it was so cool. Like there are definitely chunks that I had to just kind of like, filter out as I was going through because I was writing down so much of like, oh, this interesting tidbit, and like finding out that asterisms are very heavily involved in feng shui, which they are just kind of like less defined star patterns that constellations are then kind of,
More defined.
yeah. So
Yeah.
like constellation, asterism, a city, a state, you know.
Yeah.
Uh,
Gotcha.
but so like we follow, well, I mean, like we as in European countries kind of follow like astrology and the 12 houses, Cancer, Libra, Scorpio, all of those. And so then they like feng shui and Chinese culture follows the asterisms and just kind of broader, larger star patterns and aligning with specific asterisms in the sky at certain points of the year that certain cities would kind of align all of their front doors to dwellings and to, like I said, capital cities, where it was like part of city coding that these
Wow.
structures had to be built in these ways with XYZ feng shui rules in mind, or it wasn't going to happen. They were not going to get signed off. And so it is very down to the littlest detail, just entwined in daily life. And yeah.
Very interesting. Very cool correlation. Like on paper, when I read feng shui and you're like, yeah, I related it to yours. I'm like, huh?
What? Same what I was funny telling Nate. I was like, oh, I'm gonna go get my research together on feng shui, and he's like, why are you talking about feng shui? What is that thing?
You'll see.
So much actually.
Well, we really we're interested to know what you guys think about these odds and ends episodes. Do you like them? Are there things that you are curious about that you'd like us to add to these odds and ends episodes? Let us know. We're always wanting that feedback because we want to make this podcast, it's already meaningful to us, but we want to make sure that our audience is enjoying it, and we want to make sure that we're hitting on things that are interesting to you guys. So we really are excited about this, and we hope that you guys like it as well.
Yes, Audrey loves us, so we want the rest of the community to love us as well. So if you do have any ideas for future odds and ends, long episodes, whatever you'd like to tell us, reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you.
Reach out to us at asthecrowflies.pod@gmail.com with any stories you want to share.
Do I look like I know what a JPEG is? Want a picture of a goddamn hot dog?